I remember her words as though they had been etched into the walls of that morning. She stood at the door, keys dangling from her fingers, her voice steady and unnervingly casual. "I won't be long," she said, as if she were just running to the store or stepping out for air. But the smirk she wore gave her away. It wasn't the kind of smirk born out of humor or lightheartedness. It was calculated, the kind that said she thought she had already won, that she understood me better than I understood myself. There was no warmth in her tone, no trace of hesitation. It was cold, precise, like a rehearsed line from a play she'd been practicing for weeks. Sitting at the edge of our bed, I watched her move toward the door, and my chest constricted. Not with rage, not even with sorrow, but with an odd, steady realization. For the first time in years, I saw it clearly. She wasn't walking out because of some argument or a passing mood. She was leaving because, in her mind, she had already written me out of her story. Her words lingered. "I won't be long," like an echo that refused to fade. For a moment, I tried to picture what lay behind her carefully painted smile. Guilt, nerves, maybe even fear. But the truth was simple. There was nothing left between us for her to take, to bend, or to break. My heart had been drained long before this day, beaten into silence by years of indifference. I leaned back against the headboard, my palms open on my knees, my body strangely calm. "Take your time," I whispered, so softly that it nearly vanished in the quiet of the morning. "There's nothing here for you anymore." I wasn't issuing a warning or a threat. It wasn't revenge either. It was the plain, stripped-down truth. She hesitated for only the briefest flicker of a second. Her eyes shifted, and in that instant I caught something. An almost imperceptible crack in her mask, a flicker of surprise she hadn't expected to feel. But just as quickly, she recovered, flipping her hair with practiced ease and striding out with a shrug. She didn't look back, not once. The sound of her heels striking the hallway floor faded until it was gone, leaving only silence. I sat in that silence and let it sink in. The years of laughter, arguments, promises, all of it had dissolved into a dull background hum. And in that stillness, something unexpected grew inside me. Clarity. The betrayal was hers to live with. The lies, the disdain, the little cruelties, that was all on her. I didn't need to carry them anymore. For once, stepping back didn't make me weak. It was the first step toward freedom. The days that followed dragged like long shadows. I didn't chase her. I didn't send desperate messages or wait for her calls. I let the house breathe in its own silence. Every room carried memories, but instead of clinging to them, I let them wash over me and fade. This wasn't my defeat. It was a revelation. The emptiness I felt wasn't new. It had been there for years, ignored but not erased. I remembered the countless nights she had fallen asleep in the living room while I stared at the ceiling in our bed, waiting for a conversation that never came. The weekends where her eyes were flat, disinterested, as though my very presence was a nuisance. She believed she still held the upper hand, that her detachment and calculated smiles made her the one in control. But I knew better now. Patience wasn't the same as submission. Calmness wasn't surrender. There comes a point when silence stops being weakness and becomes a weapon of its own. That night, as I sat at the kitchen table, the plan began to form. Not out of bitterness, not to destroy her, but to take back what was mine. I had let myself be diminished for too long. I wasn't going to rage, scream, or beg. I was going to reclaim my place with quiet precision. I called my brother Daniel. He was the one man I knew could see through illusions and lies like they were glass. He didn't rush me. He let me speak, every detail, every emotion. I told him about her smirk, her detached tone, her calculated indifference. When I finished, there was silence on the line. A heavy pause. Finally, Daniel spoke, his voice steady and razor-sharp. "Tell me everything again. From the start. Every word. Every look. Every pause. Nothing is too small." So I repeated it all, reliving the sting of that morning. The sound of her voice, the way she thought she still had the power. As I spoke, something shifted in me. The weight I had carried for years didn't feel as heavy anymore. It wasn't hatred that filled me nor rage. It was something sharper, more enduring. The unshakable realization that I wasn't powerless. By the time the call ended, Daniel had laid out a plan. Not just for protecting myself, but for restoring my dignity. And for the first time in what felt like years, I felt a spark of control. Not over her, not even over the situation, but over myself and what would come next. The days turned into a test. She moved through her routines, still convinced she was untouchable. She threw her little barbs, delivered her mocking smiles, her practiced indifference. But I didn't flinch. I didn't feed her the reaction she craved. Every word she threw at me bounced back like a reflection in a mirror, showing her the emptiness inside herself. Then the day arrived. The meeting she had orchestrated, the one where she thought she would finalize everything, where she expected me to crumble and concede. But when I walked in, Daniel at my side, everything shifted. Her expression faltered. For the first time, she wasn't prepared. Daniel didn't raise his voice or throw accusations. He didn't need to. He sat with calm authority, asking sharp questions that unraveled every little manipulation she had rehearsed. Her confidence wilted with each passing minute. The smirk vanished. The script she thought would carry her collapsed in silence. And in that moment, I saw her clearly, saw the truth I had ignored for so long. She had never been in control. Her power had only ever existed in the spaces I had surrendered. By the end, she gathered her things quickly, the mask slipping, her composure crumbling at the edges. She left the room with none of the certainty she had carried in. I didn't gloat. I didn't need to. The victory wasn't in her defeat. It was in my reclamation. Walking out into the cool air afterward, I felt years of frustration lift off my shoulders. All the manipulation, the casual cruelty, the coldness, they no longer defined me. They were scars, not chains. Lessons, not burdens. That night I sat alone reflecting. Yes, the betrayal had been painful. Yes, it had broken something inside me. But it had also revealed truths I had refused to face. The importance of self-respect, the danger of silence when it turns into surrender, the strength hidden in patience when it's directed inward. She thought she left me with nothing. But in her absence, I found more than she ever gave me. Clarity, control, and the certainty that no one's disregard would ever strip me of my worth again.